Every time Jungkook and Taehyung are together, there's something special about them. It's not just about sharing space or looking at each other, but about those small gestures that have a big meaning. The moment Jungkook makes a love sign with his fingers while looking directly at Taehyung, it's no coincidence. That sign has been seen more than once, and it always happens when their eyes meet. What's important isn't just the gesture itself, but the way he does it, calm, determined, and right at the moment Taehyung is looking at him. This type of communication, which requires no words, shows that there's something between them that goes beyond a simple connection. Jungkook doesn't seek to attract anyone else's attention when he does this. His gesture is aimed directly at one person, and that person is always Taehyung. In addition, there's one detail that stands out. Right after making the sign, Jungkook turns his face and keeps his gaze fixed on Taehyung, while the sign remains in his hand. This reinforces the idea that it's not an unintentional move, but a clear way of saying, "This is just for you." The relationship between them has become more visible and consistent. Before, these moments were brief, difficult to notice. Now they happen more often, as if they no longer want to hide anything. The most important thing is that they don't feel the need to cover up what they do or act as if it means nothing. On the contrary, they continue to show themselves as they are, knowing that those who observe them can see what lies between them. This growth hasn't been sudden. It's been a change that has happened over time, through small gestures like this that speak louder than any words. There are relationships that don't require shouting or explanations. That's how Taehyung and Jungkook understand each other. It doesn't matter if they're in a crowded room or surrounded by cameras, they always find a way to connect. They don't seek attention, they don't do it so someone can see them, they simply move on the same wavelength. In many videos, you can see how that connection goes beyond the ordinary. If one takes a step, the other is there. If one reaches out, the other responds without hesitation. There's no hesitation or fear in their gestures. There are also moments when laughter only appears when they're together. It's a laughter that only appears with someone who understands you, who makes you feel safe. For them, that laughter becomes a way of communicating, as if it were a code between the two. And when they share spaces in silence, there's no awkwardness. Everything becomes peaceful. They don't need to speak to feel close. The silence between them isn't empty, it's full of meaning. This kind of bond doesn't disappear even if people doubt it. Nor does it hide just because others don't understand. They remain the same, showing their true colors with every gesture shared. Their bond is there, it always has been. And in every moment they give us, Taekookers have further proof that this love isn't invented or forced. Often, people have such a special connection that they don't need to speak to understand each other. That's exactly what you see between Taehyung and Jungkook. From the moment they share a space, their bodies react in a similar way. They make the same gestures, as if their movements were choreographed by an invisible force. That synchronicity isn't learned, it's felt. When they greet each other in a special way, without having to speak, it's as if the world around them stops. The energy they share becomes so evident that even those around them notice it, as happened with Namjoon, who was watching them while smiling. This kind of connection isn't seen every day. The fact that they always touch each other naturally or look at each other without forcing anything shows that their bond is made of habit, trust, and something much stronger than just affinity. There's an ease in the way they are together, in the way they accommodate themselves or understand each other without saying anything. It's a way of communicating without words that can only be achieved when there is something deep between two people. There's no need to rehearse or think too much, it just happens, because they're used to being close, to feeling good when they're together. The most striking thing is how these actions are repeated over time. It's not something that happened just once. It's constant. Whenever they're close, these gestures appear. That confirms that it's not an act or something planned for an audience. It's simply their way of being close to each other. And when someone acts like this with another person so many times, it's because it comes naturally to them, because they like it, and because there's something true in that closeness. The bond between Jungkook and Taehyung has undergone a transformation that hasn't gone unnoticed. What was once seen as small, almost secret moments is now more directly evident. This evolution isn't something they've announced, but it is something that can be seen in how they act whenever they're around each other. Signs of affection have become more frequent. There's no need to hide gestures, looks, or signals between them. All of this has become a natural part of how they interact in public. This type of connection can't be faked or built just for show. There are patterns that are repeated only when something real exists. For example, the fact that Jungkook repeats the same sign of love right when Taehyung is in front of him, and then does it again with the same intention, shows that it's not a meaningless gesture. It's something that's part of their way of speaking to each other, even if other people ignore it. Another important point is how they've both stopped hiding what they feel. Before, their moments together might have seemed casual, almost like something that happened unintentionally. Now, there's a noticeable change in their attitude. There's more confidence in their gestures, more firmness in their gazes. Jungkook and Taehyung no longer seek to confuse or mislead. On the contrary, they let each gesture speak for itself. And that's what makes so many Taehyung fans follow their every move, because it's not about assumptions, but about repeated events that send a clear message. What happens between them grows over time. It's no longer about simple signals. It's a way of being there for each other, even when they're in front of thousands of people. The way they look at each other, how they understand each other without speaking, and how they repeat those special moments in front of an audience, all of this is a constant demonstration that their relationship remains strong. They don't rely on words or explanations. Every moment they share is a silent affirmation of what they experience together. In all the stages we've seen with Taehyung and Jungkook, there's one thing that never changes: they behave as if tied by a thread that only they can see. It's an invisible dance. They don't dance with defined steps, but each knows where to move when the other needs it. That kind of synchronicity isn't achieved with practice or time. It happens when two people are connected from the heart. There are details that are repeated over and over again. On sets, in interviews, behind the scenes. Jungkook can go ahead, and without anyone saying anything, Taehyung follows. Sometimes, even before the other moves, they already know what to do. As if they read each other's minds. It's also common to see how they take care of each other. Not with exaggerated gestures, but with simple things that have a lot of meaning. A touch on the shoulder, a quick smile, a look that says "I'm here." They are small but constant signs. They are always attentive to each other. It doesn't matter if they're busy or if there are thousands of people watching them. Between them, everything stops. It's as if time belongs to them alone. This kind of love isn't built on big words or public declarations. It's born from the security of knowing that, no matter what, the other person will be there. This is what Taehyung and Jungkook demonstrate. They never need to prove anything, because everything they do when they're together proves it. The respect they have for each other, the trust with which they look at each other, and the way they understand each other speak louder than any words. When someone looks at them closely, they can notice that much talked about pattern. It's not just about being physically close. It's about how one reacts to the other. How their bodies respond without forcing anything. And how they manage to create a world apart even when surrounded by people. It's a kind of relationship that not everyone can understand, but it's evident to those who follow them with an open heart. Therefore, the love they experience needs no defense. It doesn't depend on what others think or on their acceptance. Taehyung and Jungkook live it without explanation. And although many want to deny what exists between them, their actions speak volumes. There's no way to hide what they feel. There are always signs that give them away. There are always moments when everything is obvious. For Taehyung fans, that bond is clear. When someone has real feelings for another person, they don't need to say it all the time. Sometimes, just the way they act shows. That's what happens between Taehyung and Jungkook. The way they relate to each other shows that their connection is real. They're not trying to appear close. They just are. Everything they do, from touching each other to copying each other's movements, is done with a naturalness that only people who truly know each other and are comfortable being themselves have. One of the most interesting things is how they repeat certain gestures between them. These gestures aren't just coincidences. They appear at many times, always when they're very close. This shows that it's not something that happens just once by coincidence. It's a pattern, a habit that has grown over time. For example, when they settle into each other, when they touch each other without fear, or when they search each other with their eyes, they are showing something much deeper than just affection. These are actions that happen because there's an emotional routine, something that is formed from being together for so long and feeling good that way. Plus, they do it no matter who's watching. That says a lot. They're not afraid to show themselves as they are, or to show that closeness that doesn't need to be explained. What's between them isn't hidden. Even if they don't say anything with words, their gestures give them away. That sincerity in how they treat each other is one of the reasons why so many people notice the specialness of their relationship. They don't try to fit into a different image. They're just themselves, and that's what stands out the most. Another important detail is how those around them react. As seen in the moment with Namjoon, his smile upon seeing them shows that this connection between Taehyung and Jungkook doesn't go unnoticed. People who know them also notice that there's something unique between them. That kind of acceptance only happens when the bond they have is real and evident. There's no awkwardness or doubt. What exists is a tranquility of being together, of sharing even the simplest things, like a glance or a small gesture.